everyone, and welcome to the 2nd of December. On day 2 of the Advent calendar, let's see what we're painting today. Now, do you recognise that? That is a pomander. Grab your paints and let's get started. A pomander, that is something that I've seen all over the place, not just at Christmas. I remember learning about these sort of not Victorian, Tudor times, really ancient ways of making yourself smell a bit nicer when we didn't have quite such the means to make ourselves clean back in the day. So we need to draw a round orange. Drawing something round is quite tricky. If you want to use a penny or something to draw around, that's a great idea. I just sort of sketched it out, and that's pretty good, I think. But it's always a good idea, if you've drawn quite heavily, is to just knock it back with a bit of a soft eraser. Okay, I'm going to take cadmium yellow and a very small bit of cadmium red, because I want to make a pale orange colour first, which is going to be the pith, the sort of layer just underneath the skin that we're going to do first. And I'm going to use my size 0 brush to paint a nice pale pith. Funny name, is it? Funny word. Has anyone ever made one of these? I'd love to know if you had, because we're going to learn about all sorts of different Christmas traditions along the way in this Advent calendar. Some will sound completely wild and wonderfully specific to the nation they come from. Others you may have seen, heard of, been a bit more familiar with. But yeah, the pomander, we're going to let that dry, and we are going to be painting in a layer over the top of a more orange skin. So, I mean, my red is quite orangey, but I think I will still just incorporate it into that yellowy tone there, just to make it a little bit more orange. So I'm going to let this dry, get your colour ready, and then we'll be back. That's nice and dry now, and I am going to paint in segments. So you could draw these in if you wanted, but I'm going to sort of wing it. It's almost as if you're painting those stripes down a beach ball. So it's going to look like we've peeled just a little bit of the skin. And are leaving some little stripes. So your orange shapes are like a sort of little crescent moons, I suppose, leaving little slivers of the yellow underneath. Nice. And I'm going to just use a little bit of more of the red, just sort of around the base. There we go. And then clean my brush off, and then just blend it a little bit if it's got quite a hard line. Just use a clean wet brush to do a few strokes. Nothing too like massively wet. Your brush is just sort of clean and a little bit damp, but it will just make your orange look that little bit more 3D at the bottom. Now we need to put in the ribbon and the cloves on this. So for the cloves we need something really dark, and we did look at a brown, blue and red mix, didn't we? Which I think will be really good. So I'll get some of the Alizarin crimson in there. And you can just keep tweaking it until you're happy. There are some colours that are going to be very hard working in this palette. Okay, I think that's really nice. I'm going to use my smallest brush to dot cloves onto the orange in a nice little pattern. Remember, we're going to tie a ribbon around it, so I think my ribbon's going to sort of come up the front and tie down. If you want, you could always do a little sort of drawing of the ribbon, or not. You can start putting your cloves in. I'm trying to think more like how I would be doing it if I was coming at it from new. So I'll put in a bow, and maybe there we go. And I'm just going to be covering over that central bit. There we are. Well, I suppose in that case, maybe we paint the bow. That might be a good idea as well, mightn't it? Sometimes I'm working these things out with you, alongside you. Okay, I quite like the idea of a nice dark green bow. We created some really nice greens in the last tutorial, so I think that's good. That's another reason why we put the piece of paper there, everybody. Okay. So if I just squash the brush down, you get a lovely sort of ribbon kind of shape. Okay, that was a little fluke, that little bit of unpainted space there. Yeah, all right, much better idea to paint in the ribbon first. And then just down the middle. I'm pretty pleased with that. Just neaten it up a fraction. Okay, and now we can paint in the cloves, but I feel like I want a bit more blue in there. So for anyone who doesn't know, a clove is a little very pungent spice, but they're a very, very Christmassy flavour indeed. So it's up to you what pattern you choose to do, but essentially this orange is dotted with the cloves. So you just see the top of them sticking out. And there we have a lovely pomander. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.